It's Paul Marsh, and I'm delighted to say that I've been joined by Shirley Lewis and Joe Garland, who are otherwise known as the George Michael Singers, and they're coming to Fareham Live on Thursday, the 3rd of April. Thank you both very much for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
How are you? How's things? How's life?
Yeah, it is lovely. It's a sunny, warm day, which
Oh,
we haven't had. We've been
Yes,
sitting outside.
you brought the sunshine with you.
isn't it nice? It almost feels like summer's on its way.
It
Oh,
does.
it's so
does.
nice to feel just some heat on your body.
I've got loads of blossom on my trees in the garden, and all my daffodils have come out in my front lawn. So it looks like a little spring meadow. It's very, very pretty. So yeah.
Welcome to Gardener's World.
It's not the quite the interview that we're expecting. I mean, George Michael did like the park, but not quite the gardening, I don't think. Tell us, tell us
Listen,
what
we all might have our vices.
tell us what we can expect from the show.
Oh wow! Well, we're going to take the audience on a journey through stories mainly. So the stories are the heart of the show. We're giving sort of insight into what a beautiful human being George Michael was, is, and will always be in our hearts. So we're telling stories about our experience and the impact that he had on all of our lives. And it's a huge thank you to George. And we're going to be singing some fantastic songs. So, I mean, expect to be crying, definitely dancing, and bring your finest voice. So definitely bring a box of tissues with you because we're taking them on a journey.
It's a real roller coaster of emotions for
Yeah.
sure, and this is something that George Michael fans or people that just really love music and appreciate George Michael as a singer, as a songwriter. I think they will enjoy the show because, as Joe said, this is a journey. It's what it was like to be with him, work with him one-on-one in the studio, whilst he was creating all these incredible songs, and that we were so lucky to be a part of. And I think that kind of, separates us from any kind of tribute band or act that's out there, although they do a fantastic job, and I'm glad that people are still enjoying George's music, but that's not our show. This is very authentic. It's all the people that are involved were involved in George's career from the beginning. I mean, I started working with George at the Wham final. And I've just discovered that next year it will be 40 years.
Obviously, she started singing with him when she was 8 years old.
Of course, yeah.
Of course.
Do you know what? I've never thought the saying "you don't give flowers to people while they're still alive" has never been more appropriate with George Michael, because I think we all knew that George was a phenomenal vocalist, like arguably one of the best ever. But throughout his life, it seemed that especially the tabloids only ever focused on the negative side, constantly the negative, negative, negative. And it was only after George passed that all of these stories started emerging of his charitable work and the kinder side and the gentler side and the amazing things that he did. And it just blows my mind. And I think, why did people not do this while he was still with us?
But that's the nature of this business, really. George was a very quiet, private person, so whatever he was going to do, he was never going to get
shout
the
it
shout out. Yeah, he was never going to do that. It's everything he does is from the heart and not for attention. So that's the reason. But they say the good die young, don't they? So I guess that's what happened with him.
Is there any stories that still surprise you, even after working with him for all those years? Is there anything that came out or anything that anybody said and you go, "Oh, I didn't know that"?
Well, actually, funnily enough, we're still unpacking memories. I mean, our memories. This whole show started a year and a half ago by myself and Shirley sort of talking. We were working together on a different tour, and we were working together and we were talking about George and all these memories that we have. And that's how we kind of thought, oh my God, this audience would love to listen to some of these stories. But, and we're still unpacking them now. I mean, like, all of us haven't really been able to listen to George's music or watch any of the documentaries because it was just such a shock to lose him. So it was just suddenly, so suddenly. You just, so I think it's all been like incredibly raw for all of us up until this point. Now we're going through this whole process. It's like a healing process. It's a huge thank you to him. It's, you know, we laugh a lot, we cry a lot. I mean, you'll see on the show, it's a roller coaster of emotions. It's just, and it's also incredibly magical when we sing together. You can almost hear George. You know, you can feel him in the room. He's present always.
And there's actually three of us. Our Jay Henry, who's not with us today. But yeah, when the three of us sing together, it's that George Michael sound, and this is the magic as well of the show. Not only the stories, it's just that when you hear us singing together. Lots of people said after the first show that we did a show in London, if your listeners don't know, last year, 10th of December, at Shepherd's Bush, which was a complete sellout. And people were coming up to us after the show and asking us, do we have George on tape? Because they could hear his voice. But in fact, it's because they're so familiar with our voices, right. Because all the hits that you love, like Father Figure, Freedom, Fast Love, Amazing, Spinning the Wheel, Outside, that's myself and Joe singing with George. So, of course, when you hear our voices, you'll just assume that you can hear his. And we definitely, when we're all together, we definitely kind of feel his spirit.
And also, we like, you could literally hear a pin drop. When we were telling the stories of George, you could literally hear a pin drop. It was just, it was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So I don't know whether that answers your question, because I think we are continually unpacking stories of George. He's just, we are daily surprised. We had an interview the other day, and Shirley was like, I was telling a story, and she's like, I didn't know that. We're still sort of unpacking. When you've worked with somebody for over 40 years. But I came in sort of 11 years later, so it's sort of 30 years for me. When you've worked with someone that long, there's a lot to unpack.
It's a lifetime. It's a lifetime of memories, and a lifetime of work. With our body of work with him it's for me, it is literally a lifetime of work.
Yeah.
I think such is his stature, such is his amazing voice. Do you know what? I was listening to the radio this morning on my radio alarm as I was getting up, and they played Elton John, Don't Let the Sun Go Down.
Oh, yeah.
And it took me a second, and I thought, what's different about this song? I was like, it's the original. George isn't on it.
Yeah.
And it didn't sound right. And I'm talking about Elton John, and I'm saying it doesn't sound right because George Michael isn't on it.
Yeah, because you're so used to him doing that song. It's a very popular song, actually.
Yeah.
And he elevated it, didn't he? I mean, it was almost when they were performing it together, they were sort of like in competition, weren't they, vocally with each other? But you can hear that, and that's why it's just so passionate and raw and just incredible rendition. Songwriters and singers, both of them are.
After spending so long working with George, do you think there was a particular period in his career that he was making the music that he was happiest with? Because I know, obviously, with Wham, when he started, and it was a very pop sounding, aura that was coming out, and then as he went into the 90s and it got a lot more R&B, you mentioned Spinning the Wheel, and obviously he covered As with Mary J. Blige, which is just one of the greatest songs ever made. Was there a particular time when you think that was when George was really, like, he was doing what he wanted to do?
I think really one of his favorite, I think everything from the point of his solo career was exactly what he wanted to do. I mean, when he was in Wham, George did all his own vocals in Wham. There were no singers. So he didn't want to take that into his solo career, which I really do feel is why he reached out to, myself, Joe, Jay, to bring another colour, but a similar sound to his. But he definitely was consciously looking for something else. But I think all of his solo albums, but I do feel maybe Older was one of the things that really were like closest to his heart.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
It was a sad time for him, but I feel like Older probably was one of his favourite albums.
It's funny. It's funny as well, isn't it? Because he did so many different sides so well. He did Outside and the disco music and the fun great radio hits, he did them so well, but then he did the soulful music so well.
Yeah, he just yeah. He was. I mean, that's the music he loved. I mean, the first night I met him, I used to DJ, and he asked me to bring my records along. So we sat on the floor until 6 o'clock in the morning, and he was playing his records, and I was playing my records, and all of his records was all soul music. You know, he loved soul. I mean, you know, he loved vocal tones and good bass lines and production. You know, he would listen to music as a whole because he was an incredible producer and songwriter. You know, he did the whole thing. He was just from there from start to finish. So
yeah. And Joe actually, they were playing that night. You played Patrice Russian,
yeah,
didn't you?
yeah.
Sending you forget me nots, and then
I ended up singing it on Fast Love, however many years later. So I recorded the older album with him. So yeah, it was
only because I wasn't available.
So just to sort of finish off, let's talk specifically about the tour. You mentioned there that, you know, you shared stories and sometimes you surprise each other with the stories that you tell. I'm not sure if it's something that, as I'm getting older as well, I really do enjoy these types of shows now, which is maybe a little bit more chilled out, maybe seated,
yeah,
maybe even acoustic sometimes. And I like to hear the stories
you
in
come to see our
between.
show, already? That sounds like our show.
There you
Oh,
go.
sorry.
I love to hear the stories in between about how these songs were created and some of the backstories. And I really, really enjoy that now.
Yeah, we've definitely, that's what, you know, we wanted to bring that experience to the audience because, you know, we have that, we have that authenticity because we have those stories. We shared many years with George. So, and I think for the fans or anyone that comes to see the show, it's really important for them to, it's almost like they get to take a piece of George away with them and something that they wouldn't have known before. And I don't know, it's just such a magical, beautiful experience, isn't it?
It really is. I think they feel, I mean, we've had a few messages from the fans just saying they feel like they know George a little more coming to see the show. I mean, even if, you know, I know there's been a lot of documentaries. We haven't actually watched any of the documentaries, but I know there's been a lot, and a lot of, you know, his friends have been on there, but we still had a different relationship with George because we were with him whilst he was creating. So it's a completely different experience to anything you would have heard on any documentary or, you know, any radio documentary that is out there. It is a completely different experience. And as Joe said, it's just magical. And we're going to be traveling, well, kind of up and down the country. I know we're going to be in Fareham on April the 3rd. So yay. Hopefully your listeners will come along and see us.
I'm sure they will. I think your show is an absolute must for any George Michael enthusiast. I think, you know, it's like if there's an Elvis show, you know, and if you're an Elvis fan, you have to go, don't you? I think if you love George Michael, and we know that George Michael had and still has so many fans out there, I think this is absolute must see.
Can I just also add, we would really love to thank the George Michael estate for being so supportive and helping us, you know, through this process. We know we're very respectful about how we protect George Michael. You know, he's a brand. You know, he is. You know, so we just want to make sure that we do everything. So we run the right way. So we run everything past the George Michael estate. So and you know they're very supportive. So we just want to say thank you so much to them.
And they've given us an incredible image of George to use on stage, where, and I'm pretty sure it was taken at the Sinfonica show in Paris, where he's sitting on these amazing stairs and kind of, you know, looking down, like, you know, smiling, and we have that above us, you know, it's behind us, but, you know, up above so the audience can see it. And that's really, really special for us too. And we're very grateful to the estate for allowing us to use that.
Yeah.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. Well, he was an amazing man. I'm absolutely 100%. I'm positive that this is going to be an amazing show. Shirley, Joe, thank you so much for talking to me. Again, you are going to be at Fareham Live Thursday, the 3rd of April, and I'm sure it is an absolute must-see show. And I have noticed, I've seen, you've also got some exclusive meet and greets as well, haven't you?
We do, yes. If you'd like to come along and have a quick chat with us, quick picture, you know.
Ask us another
Ask
question.
us another question that we may not. Yeah, if you have questions, I'm sure the fans have a lot of questions. And also, you can always shout out those questions in the audience and we'll answer them too.
Now, be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you wish for.
Are you going to come?
If I would love to come, absolutely love to.
Must. It's honestly, it's just the opening of the show is just so powerful. It literally gets you immediately. So definitely bring some tissues. It's and then it's just as I said, it's a roller coaster. It's the start is just so emotional, and then it's a celebration, and it's just it's. We didn't want it to end. We didn't. The show that we did in London, literally, we're only supposed to be on stage for like an hour and a half. 2 hours went by literally like that. It was just mad. It was mad.
The comedy cane comes and drags you off, isn't it?
It was. Our production man was standing there ready to pull the plug, basically, by the side of the stage. Will you just get off?
Well, look, thank you so much for talking to me. I really do appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I can't wait to see you down in Fareham.
Brilliant. Bye. Come. Bye.